I know this brand for many years and honestly I never had a chance to work with them. Now this is definitely something new on the channel which I haven't covered so far or anything from this brand. This is KOLINK and they come from quite interesting background when we're talking about the, let's say, period that they are on the market. Now right here we have a couple of their products which do come quite interesting, and I'm not saying this because it's here, it's on a review and anything similar to that. We have KOLINK UNITY ARENA case right here, and Arena actually does kind of ring a bell when we're talking about the both front and the side tempered glass panel without a hinge on the front holding the top and bottom part, but it doesn't flex, so that's good. Now of course I'm going to go into details, but we have loads of other products here from KOLINK as well, so I'm going to go through those. Now these fans right here on top that you can see with the infinity mirror on the side and on the middle part of the fan, they don't come with the AAO. So why did I go with that? Well, first of all, I wanted to go with some sort of a unity of fans, and this doesn't have to do anything with the case, but what I wanted to create is a quite nice build. After all, it does look quite nice when you take a look at it right here, right now. And the stock fans that come in this case is 120 UMBRA X here at the rear, which is regular fan, and 3 of those, but with reversed blades on the side, which is kind of logical, right? And I wanted to place 3 of those on the AAO, but in regular position when we're talking about the blades, and give some sort of, as I already stated, the unity when we're talking about the fans, to have everything synced up, let's put it this way. So the AAO is UMBRA VOID, and it kind of goes strange because you don't get UMBRA fans, but it's called UMBRA VOID. 360 addressable RGB. As you can see, you can rotate the pump block cover and it really does look quite nice. I do have to admit, with some sort of a crystal look-alike edges and the KOLINK logo right in the middle, which is of course addressable RGB. It's quite straightforward. You have 4-point contact when we're talking about AMD processor, so that is quite positive, and it actually has equal pressure on the processor instead of using the original retention brackets from the AMD motherboard, which doesn't perform that good, at least not that good as this one did. So let's continue. We have also one more thing, except for the UMBRA X fans that I mentioned. We have these cables. Now these come, this is quite interesting. The 12V HPWR, of course, you can connect it directly to your power supply and then to your graphic card, but it comes with an angled 90-degree adapter, which you could use or you don't have to use, it's all up to you. But I wanted to place it inside, so this is why the cables go as such. Now, when you open the box of the Core Pro braided cable extension kit, you get loads of cable combs. And I thought, okay, so you have to attach the cable combs, which kinda is a bit time consuming because you have to push each and every single cable through those combs to be able to make them look nice, right? Well, guess what? Each cable that comes in that box already has cable combs, and 3 on each cable. So this is outstanding because the extra cable combs that you get inside the box is something for the aesthetic reasons, and if you wish and if you desire to go with those, you could use them, and that's it. So the Core Pro braided cable extension kit comes with one 24-pin 300mm, 6 plus 2-pin PCI Express 3 pieces 450mm, one piece of 4 plus 4-pin EPS 450, and one 8-pin one piece 450. Then we have one 6-pin PCI Express 450mm, and you have 12V 2x6 90-degree one piece 600mm. Now, of course, as I stated, you can remove the angled part, and it's quite cool to actually have the possibility to adjust the cable combs and everything else. The thing that actually surprised me is that the cables are so soft and so flexible, it's outstanding. And the 12V HPWR has special cable combs that actually cover those additional pins on the top, so it's really nicely thought through, and I do have to admit, everything looks outstanding. Now, of course, you have a variety of colors, and I'll link them in the description below if you desire to check them out, because after all, why not? They are really, really good. I am satisfied, I do have to admit. Now, the case. Some might say, why didn't I place 2 additional fans here on the top? to be honest, on the power supply shroud, to be honest, I didn't want to ruin the whole aesthetic design of the case. Of course, it will benefit a bit when we're talking about the airflow through the GPU, but then again, I will have to use the regular blade fans, and then you'll see the sticker from UMBRA X. So I really wanted to skip that, and yeah, stick to this one. Now, the cool thing about the case is that it comes with vertical bracket, and it comes with additional brackets that standoffs that you can place here on the power supply shroud, but you don't get a PCI Express riser cable Gen 4. You don't get any riser cable at all. So if you're aiming for something that is, I think this is a quite outstanding budget combination, without a doubt. So if you're going with this and you really want to put your GPU vertically, you have to pay extra for the riser. So in those terms, since if you're going on a budget or something that is appealing to you, regardless of everything, I decided not to go with it just because it's not included. It doesn't make sense to do anything with it when we're talking about the budget concept and everything all together. But yeah, that's it. That's nothing. There's nothing left to add. But you have a bracket, you have the standoffs, you just need a riser to place it here, and that's it. I wouldn't worry too much about the airflow when we're talking about this GPU in general placed in vertical position, because it does have loads of space when we're talking about tempered glass and the front fans of the GPU, so it won't heat up, as we saw in many other cases that actually have the GPU right next to the tempered glass. Now, let's skip all of that and continue quickly with the case. The side panels can be removed just with a click, let's put it this way, because they have the tempered glass has two pegs and it goes into the legs of the bottom part of the chassis, which also has some rubber part to, well, basically prevent glass hitting the plastic part at the legs. Even though you have loads of Velcro ties, you have 3 on the EPS cable, you have 4 on the 24-pin straight here at the back, so it's good, it's well organized, you could do whatever you wish, and yeah. There is enough space here in the power supply shroud compartment to hide the excessive part of the cables, so you don't have to worry about that as well. And the cool thing, you have 8 PCI expansion slots here, which means that the case is risen up, so you have loads of space actually when the GPU is placed. You have loads of space to connect the cables and everything all together. But I think this was done because of the fans on the power supply shroud or the PCI Express riser, depending what you go with. When we're talking about fan support, on the side you can go with 3120 or 3140. On the top you can go either with 3120 or 3140, and at the rear you can go with 1120 or 1140. But also you can place on the power supply shroud 3120, and now you might be thinking, where do you place the third one? Because you have space here for the 2, and where does the third one go? Well, you remove the hard drive caddy and place one right here, which actually does kind of make sense, and this is the only fan on the power supply shroud that actually collects clean air, let's put it this way, because the power supply does kind of heat up eventually, so yeah. Now for the radiator mountings, on the side we could go up to maximum of 360, top as well. The power supply shroud compartment 240 maximum, and at the rear you could go up to maximum 140. So this is kind of really cool. And when we're talking about drive bays, you can go on the front here 2 3.5 inch or 2 2.5 inch, and at the back we have 2 more caddies for 2.5 inch SSDs. I/O panel has one USB Type-C, one USB 3.0 and one USB 2.0, one 3.5mm HD audio jack, one power button, one reset button, which is connected to something, and I'll get to that quite shortly. Then we have GPU clearance up to 420, and really you don't have to worry about anything when we're talking about the GPU clearance. CPU cooler can go up to 189mm, and power supply up to 180mm of clearance. Now, before we go into the part what I mentioned regarding the reset button, I do have to state that if you go with the radiator on the side, you can't go with such long GPU because there is no space. Let's be honest, there is no space. You actually have 11-12mm of space from the fans to the GPU. So if you go with a side radiator, which I wouldn't suggest because you get pre-installed reversed fans, why not just place it on top and you're good to go? But you'll have to shorten your GPU to that length, which is totally irrelevant basically, because why not just place it on top and you're done with it. But there is a possibility to accommodate a 360 on the side. Now for the reset button, it doesn't actually mean that you'll be using it as a reset button, right? Well, the thing is, at the back you have a huge controller when we're talking about PWM and addressable RGB, and that synchronizes with the reset button, where you could actually change the color scheme, and well, you have the modes and you have a static color, so you can really go do wonders. Unfortunately, I didn't notice the cable because there was loads of cables at the back. I didn't notice the cable that is dedicated for addressable RGB running from the controller. So everything you connect to the controller most likely doesn't have a possibility to connect to your motherboard to synchronize it with the motherboard. So I'm not quite sure. I'll check that out a bit later and leave that in the comment section. But you have the PWM header, which goes to your motherboard. So I connected 7 fans to that controller. You do need SATA power to power it up, logical, because it's taking loads of power with the RPMs of the fans and of course the addressable RGB. And what I did is I went to BIOS to regulate the speeds just to see how it functions. It's outstanding because first of all, the BIOS recognizes the speed without any problems, and then when you adjust it, it automatically synchronizes all the fans, no problems whatsoever. And yeah, that's the most important thing, because some controllers, such as this one, sometimes don't get recognized in BIOS, and that's quite a ticklish situation, I would say. Going at the back, we have, as I stated, loads of Velcro ties, loads of possibilities for cable management, and altogether quite nice amount of space when we're talking about depth, because it's around 2.5 to 3 centimeters of space. Yeah, something like that when you take into consideration the backside panel, which also is perforated for the fans on the side to create a nice airflow through the chassis. I'm quite surprised, positively surprised, and I'm really liking the case, not because of the design, but the way you build inside, the configuration and everything that comes with it. And it's not flimsy, it's not bad whatsoever. You have the option to remove the top part, which also has a magnetic dust filter, and you have a dust filter here at the bottom, plus you have the side dust filter as well. So altogether, when you take the price into consideration with everything else that I mentioned, I think that's a good deal. Especially if you pair it up with UMBRA VOID, and I'll tell you right now, because the benchmarks say something quite interesting. So if you go with the AIDA 64 Extreme Edition, right, and you go with the CPU thermals, which kind of skyrocket to 90 degrees Celsius. I mean, we are talking about AMD Ryzen 9 7900X3D, and the clock speed was at 4800 megahertz. Now the GPU went 4 degrees higher than usually what I tested in, let's say, a better airflow case. So it went up to 70 compared to some other cases where it goes up to 66, 67 eventually. I wouldn't take that as a negative, because 3 degrees up and down, I think that's still okay and still acceptable. So yeah, that's quite alright. Now, Cinebench is the thing that really shocked me and surprised me quite positive. The thermals for the CPU go from 81 to maximum 82 degrees through those 10 benchmarks. The CPU clock speed goes and stays at 4975, and then we have the scores. So 26,168, it starts there, then it immediately boosts to 26,353, and out of nowhere, which I didn't expect, I thought it was going to stay at 26,300, it just goes up with 26,751, and it kind of varies there at those 650 average, and then it drops back 26,370, let's put it this way. So on average, I would say 26,500, 550 is an outstanding score for a budget combination, for a nice case, for a nice AIO. Definitely you wouldn't expect that from these type of fans, and it's working properly. I have no complaints whatsoever. The case looks brilliant, nice tempered glass on the front, on the side. Okay, we do have loads of cases with this design, I can't deny that, but all in all, it's great deal, great combination. And especially if you go with UMBRA X fans, you go with UMBRA VOID AIO, and the cables, you can choose the colors as you wish. So yeah, I mean, big thumbs up. I'm sometimes quite positively surprised, and this one is definitely a PC Crazy approved badge for everything. The cables are really impressive. They are thinner than you used to from other brands that they do custom slipped cables, but they're really flexible and really they are heavy, but they are flexible. Then we have the fans, which do perform quite nicely, and all in all, as I stated, big thumbs up to KOLINK for everything that I mentioned here. And oh yeah, I forgot one thing. I do have to mention that. So the controller at the top is really wide, so it goes from this part right here to almost at the end. And what this creates some sort of a problem when you're rerouting the cables here at the top, which isn't that much of a problem. You just need to fiddle around a bit and that's okay. But what I'm worried about is the two EPS cables running from my motherboard through that, where you have those pins from addressable RGB or PWM sticking out. So if you push it a bit too hard, there might come to a connection. I wouldn't worry too much about it. You always have those caps that you can place, the plastic caps, you can place them on top of each connection and they will be secured, so there won't be any problems. But just so you know, this is something that's the only thing that was a bit bothering me, and yeah, that's it. All in all, big thumbs up again. I'll say it one more time just in case you missed the first two times. And of course, as per usual, the links are in the description if you decide to go with any of these or just go with the exact same combination. It's up to you to decide. I gave my thumbs up, so yeah, that's it. Guys, thank you for watching today's video. Hope it explained everything when we're talking about the cables, the AIO, the fans, and finally the case. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell. See you very soon, guys. Bye bye.